Hello and welcome to the Pro Detailer podcast. We are out in a very, very sunny Germany. We're in Einbeck. We're behind the scenes at the DCON Detailing Convention show at PS Speicher. And we have been basically kidnapping people from the show and cheating them into coming into a little room so that we can shove a microphone in their face and ask them awkward questions. And our first victim today is Christian Resch, and he is from Sonax. His technical title is Key Account Manager, International Academy. This sounds very important indeed. What do you sort of do?
Yeah, my job is actually doing the training for our master trainers and build up all the academies worldwide together with my master trainers and our distributors.
So you're kind of the master trainer.
You can say so.
That's
He's
a cool
the Admiral
title.
trainer.
Hello.
You need to get some pips on your shoulders.
Yeah.
Just show seniority.
And a big hat with gold bits like that. That'd be good. Now, this being a relatively new series, we are obviously doing the 10 quickfire questions first so that you can get to know our interviewees/victims early. So I'm going to start running through the 10 questions. And the idea is it's quickfire. So just say the first thing that comes in your head as long as it's not rude.
Okay.
That's the key.
Unless that's your answer.
Yeah, if it's legitimate,
Which
that's
case,
fine.
fine.
Yeah, we're not picky. What is your current motor vehicle?
My current motor vehicle, my current car is a BMW.
Oh dear.
And
which one?
The 4 Grand Coupe.
Grand Coupe? Ooh, very swish, very swish. If you had all the money in the world, what car would you have?
Yeah, it's a good question because I have my dream car actually already.
You already own it. You have a Subaru.
I have a Porsche 911 992. No, sorry, 991.
991.
Yeah, it's a 991.
Which one? Carrera S?
Carrera S.
Carrera S, nice. So rear-wheel drive?
It's an...
or is it a 4S?
It's an S. No, it's not four-wheel drive.
Not four-wheel drive. It's the proper one. Very cool.
But they lost without turbo. So 9911.
I see. Yes, I got what you mean. Yeah, and that's your dream car, even, or would you get the later one now?
So no, that's it. Life complete. Can stop now.
Yeah,
Don't
exactly. I mean, what's the point in getting up in the mornings? You've already achieved a life goal.
Yeah, I'm always motivated to reach my targets. I set up my targets by myself, and I set up realistic targets. And my target was to have a 911 before I become 40, which is in July this year. And
So it's kind of box ticked. That's cool. I like the idea of a challenge you can actually succeed at. That will make us hate ourselves much less.
I like the idea of succeeding at something before you're 40. It means we've got 2 years left.
Yeah.
It's not looking good.
Just look at it in days or hours.
Yeah.
It's an easy way to get by. So we know your current car, we know your dream car. What was the very first car that you detailed? Now I say detailed with inverted commas because obviously if it was a long time ago, detailing wasn't kind of a thing. But what was the first car you rubbed enthusiastically?
Actually, when I look back, this was one of the neighbor's cars. It was also a BMW. I think it was a 3 because I got inspired by my father. My father did the detailing or polishing from the neighbor's cars, the cleaning, and then I was inspired and I tried to help him. And
that's really cool. So your dad was he an amateur detailer or a professional detailer?
He isn't, but this was his passion.
Oh, okay. So he was an enthusiast at it.
Absolute.
Cool. That's very cool. So now in our quickfire questions, we are going to ask you some detailing related questions. So when you're washing a car, it's just you in the car and a wash mitt. How many buckets do you like to get involved with?
3.
3 buckets. And how would you use those 3 buckets?
One with clear water, one with shampoo, and one for the wheels.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, that is the established thing. Yeah, it's all good.
There's not a wrong or a right answer with this. Everyone has their own way, but it's just nice to find everyone's individual opinions.
Yes.
You can use...
Well, you know what some people are like. They're like, oh, you have to have 20 buckets to do this, or well, you only need one very small bucket and a toothpick to clean a car.
Or no buckets and a really powerful pressure washer.
Or so.
In terms of machine polishers, are you a rotary man? Are you a DA man? Are you a bit of both man? If you had the choice of one or the other, which would you go for?
I grew up with a rotary. I'm a rotary guy.
You're a rotary guy, going round in circles.
We always say
It's a terrible joke.
I'm going to take myself outside and shoot me soon.
yeah, but the rotary is, I like rotary because you have a feeling you get the hands directly to the paint. You know,
Get direct feedback.
You get direct feedback, and a DA machine is something you just need to guide. This is too boring for me.
Yeah.
In some cases, you need, if you have very tricky paint, you need a DA, but I can handle actually almost everything by a rotary if you know how.
Yeah, no, I all sounds good to me. So, and I think I'm going to know the answer to this one too. A coating or a wax?
Depends, but coating first choice. But for classic cars and softer paints, I go for wax.
Wax, an old timer, as they say in Germany.
Absolute old timer.
Any favourites, wax wise?
Wax wise, there are so many different brands. I grew up with a brand that's called Swiss Wax, of course.
Yeah, I've heard of them before.
Yeah, maybe. And of course our own wax, our Sonax Premium Class Canabo wax, which is a great product.
You see, I thought we were going to go straight to that. I'm surprised we mentioned another brand.
I know, rightly, Swiss Wax is awesome.
Well, we have another question, which I'm going to ask you now. It's not in the right order, but I think it's relevant. And we've asked people from Flex and we've asked people from Rupes, and the answer is always very predictable. But Flex or Rupes for machine polishers?
Flex.
Ah, keeping German solidarity, I'm guessing there.
Yeah.
P14?
Yes.
Yeah.
P14.
Yeah. You had to know, for the benefit of the tape, there was a knowing look there between two Flex lovers.
It's always a question of taste. I grew up with a Makita, actually, and it was a heavy one. But
that's where the muscles come from, isn't it? Yeah.
Stop staring.
I'm sorry. Okay, so now we've got far more important questions. Ferrari or Porsche? Again, I think we know the answer.
Porsche.
Oh, what about challenge yourself to get a Ferrari by the time you're 50?
No, this is not the challenge for the future. May is to change my 991 into an 911 GTR.
Ooh, that's quite an exciting car. Yeah,
and then you don't need to reach 50. You'll just go out in a blaze of glory.
Yeah. Well, it depends. If it's a GT3, you can a GT3 RS. I'm guessing is what you're thinking. Yeah. Well, that is a controllable, fun, naturally aspirated car. It's the GT2 that's the Widowmaker with the turbos.
So what did Paul Walker have?
He had a Carrera GT, which is entirely different. That's different.
Carrera GT.
Yeah, Carrera GT is like the one-off supercar, isn't it?
Yes, I drove once. One of my customers had them.
They're very scary. I talked to somebody who used to run those as race cars, and the clutch and the brake fluid reservoir had a habit of exploding over the anti-roll bar drop links, which would then pop off mid-race, and that's quite dangerous.
I can imagine.
So that was a giggle. So bringing it back to far more important here. Now, this is all the other questions we said there is no wrong answer. This is a question where there is a wrong answer, and we haven't actually given you the right answer yet. So it's going to be difficult. I'm going to do it mostly through the power of eye contact. What is better? What do you prefer? Subaru or Mitsubishi?
Subaru.
Good man. There we go.
Sell out.
So glad of that. And of course, we've done the Flex or Rupes question. So the final question now is: it is a lovely Sunday morning. You don't have to worry about the wife, the girlfriend, the children, anything like that. It's just you and the car. Do you go for a drive or do you sit there polishing your car? Sunday drive or Sunday detail?
Sunday drive, because my car is always detailed.
Yeah, good man. Yeah, absolutely.
Ticks the box.
Yeah, car is clean anyway. That's what we're doing Monday to Friday.
That's right. That's why I use the time on the weekend for the drive.
Yeah, well, that's good. And when you've got a Porsche like that, you can drive it.
Cracking the whip over the subordinate master trainers around Europe. They have to come and clean his car 3 times a week as the
requirement.
As the master.
It's called continuing professional development. Wash my car. So I'm going to look back now into the mists of time. And I'm going to bring us to 2006.
Sorry, I'll do it.
Yeah, do you?
I have got buttons for stuff here. I just forget they exist.
You thought he was just here for his looks, didn't you? We're back in 2006 in the midst of time, and you are running a detailing shop, 2 sites of detailing shop. You have 8 employees.
Yes.
and you're doing 3,500 cars a year.
Right.
A mixture of trade and private work, by the sounds of it.
Right.
Continue the story from there. You're an established detailer. You're a regular user of Sonax products.
Yeah. Detailing was always my hobby, and 2003 I decided to run my own business. I was 23 years old. I took the risk, and but I said this is the right thing, and this is what I want to do. And of course, we tried many different brands, and Sonax was a brand I known, but they never visited us. So I was at lunch. I saw a car. There was a Sonax sticker on. I took my business card and
Chased after it.
Yeah, I waited, and I was waiting. And 2 weeks later, there was a sales guy from Sonax. He visited us, and he explained us everything about the product range and so on. And they had these days they had a concept was called Sonax Service Partner Concept. Yeah, and it was very interesting. And from 2006 on, I worked just with Sonax.
With Sonax, and so
I grew up with Sonax actually. So then I was also involved in development and so on, and I got testing products from the lab, and this was a great cooperation and a great support, and that's why I was convinced, and I was fully I was a loyal customer for Sonax, and it was a win-win situation.
Yeah, and so in 2012 or so, you became like the trainer for the whole of Germany, the kind of...
Yeah, you can say so. We have these days 15 trainers, 15 master trainers in Germany, and I was one of them. So I was responsible for one region. That's in Bavaria. That's
the nice southern region with Munich and stuff like that.
I live actually on the one of the famous lakes in Bavaria, on the Chiemsee.
Ah, yes. I've driven around them.
Yeah.
And that is near Tom Zahn, isn't it?
Yes, it is very close to him. He's 20 kilometers from my home. And I was a regional trainer for this area, and as an external trainer, so I still had my own business. And I know that I love my job, but I recognized and I realized, let's say, that I can't do this my entire life because it was very exhausting. We were so busy. I must to say that I was very close to a burnout because I was so busy. We had a waiting time from 4 to 6 weeks. I had to some of the customers. I had to say, sorry, I can't. You have to go somewhere else. And then it was really exhausting. I was very tired, and I said, okay, I have to change something.
Yeah,
I have to slow down, and I don't know, but.
I don't know. So I love the idea of slowing down. So I then become a master trainer for the whole world as well.
In terms of running their own business, of course, I was very successful. I started from the scratch. I had nothing, and I built up a very nice company. We made a good turnover. I had good guys. I was not the boss who was sitting in the office. I was always with my guys, so I did the polishing job all day long. But it was exhausting, and I got a chance. We had a meeting actually in the headquarters of Sonax with all the master trainers of Germany, and the boss told us that they were looking for an international trainer, and I said,
traveling.
That's my chance.
Training. Yeah.
And when we had a break, I called my wife. I said, hey, there's a chance, but I have to travel and I have to speak English. So she said, hey, take the chance. And I went back home. I wrote my application. I got an invitation. And this was a very hard time because every day I was waiting for the answer of Sonax.
So it's nerve-wracking.
I was, And two weeks later on, he called me. You have to come to the headquarters again, and we will talk about the job. And I went there. We talked about everything, and they told me, okay, with English, okay, it's no problem. We can send you to the school, and then you can learn English. And okay, I said, but you are not the only one who sent an application, so. Hang on again.
Yeah, interview the others. Yeah.
Yes, interview the others, and okay. Well, it was very hard,
Nervous.
I was very nervous because this was the chance of my life, to work for the brand you were used to work with. And 2 weeks later on, the boss called me and he said, hey, you need to go to the airport, the Munich airport, because our CEO will land there and you have a meeting with him.
Oh, crikey. He's come to you.
Is it at this point that they turn around and tell you you're actually in a battle royale with 5 other people and it's whoever is surviving at the end of it gets the job?
Yes, and here is your sword.
You'll get onto the plane, we'll drop you on an island, you have to parachute down. They could make a game out of that.
yeah, like this. And no, because the boss he lived in Munich, and we said, okay, you have to go there, and you have another interview with him, and this was in the Kempinski Hotel. I still remember. I was in the area, the waiting area, and I was sitting. I was so nervous and
sweating in reception.
Yeah.
We've all been there.
And then the boss was coming, and I was so nervous. And he sit down and said, "Hello, Mr. Resch," and we were talking, talking, and then he said, "We need guys like you." And then I said, "Okay." Yeah, you're in. I was almost crying. It was so how to say, overwhelming, and it was amazing. It was just everything, all the pressure
just released all of a sudden.
And
it's weird how different people deal with different pressures. So today we were with Moritz setting up, and he started doing yoga. Moritz is a big man. He's taller than me, and he's built stronger. And there he is doing sort of ballet poses.
Yeah,
and stuff.
I saw this.
So when I panic, I curtsy at people. That's my default response. I curtsy and make an inappropriate joke. If I was in front of the Queen, I'd out curtsy the Queen.
Okay.
And you're obviously, by the sounds of it, nearly crying. So I don't know. I've never seen you nervous. You sort of not much changes.
Yeah, doesn't do anything.
Doesn't really let it happen. But anyway, so you got this job in from the CEO himself, from the big cheese in Munich. And after the break, we will talk about the history of Sonax, because Sonax itself, avid readers of the magazine will know the history of Sonax because we wrote an article at great length on the history of Sonax. So I hope you've read up and revised on that, and you can correct me on all the mistakes that I make. But just to sort of cycle forward now, so you've then in charge of all these other master trainers, and it's an interesting, well, lots of interesting aspects to it, but one is the change, because this is 2013, so I hate to say it, but 2013 was nearly a decade ago. And the changes that we've had, ceramic coatings. I remember the first Sonax coating was CC36. Now you're on CC Evo.
Actually, there was another coating before already, and this was the Nano Paint Protect, called at that time, which was a great product. But in the past, that Sonax wasn't that well known in the professional detailing. We sold like hell. This was a product we actually developed for Asia, but worldwide was one of our top sellers. But the detailing business wasn't on the level like today, and also we as Sonax, we were not on the same level like today.
Well, that's an interesting, because I want to talk about the challenges in part 2. I want to talk about the challenges of going from what we would call a high street brand to a professional brand, and that I think is an interesting topic that demands half of a podcast in itself. But just cycling through now, your role is you are training trainers in 60 countries, and you're covering Asia, the Middle East, so Afghanistan, I imagine, that sort of place. That must be an interesting job.
The next question is, can you name all 60 countries for us, please?
Yes.
Go.
Faster.
Done.
In alphabetical order.
And you deal with Australia as well, which must be a lot of fun going out to Australia.
I've been there just one time so far, but Australia is amazing, a big country. We just started more or less because it's always hard, because we have distributors. We don't have our own HQs in the countries. We have always distributors, and it depends every time on the distributor. And
you're relying on them to set up the meetings and the trainings.
And how he, let's say, push the brand and how he can establish the brand. And they need a lot of support from the beginning. So this is actually also one of my jobs and our area sales managers to give them the structure, to help him to build up the structure.
Where is your distributor in Australia?
He is... Cut it out. Is he in Melbourne?
It's in Melbourne. Okay, so south.
I need to check.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing, to be a distributor in Australia, there's no central place in Australia, because if you go to the central place in Australia,
a
you
desert.
die.
And
It's just death.
You get eaten by saltwater crocodiles and kangaroos.
You're right.
Marsupial.
Have you seen the
death.
signs on the big roads that go through? It's
I've never
like
been to
no
Australia.
cell phone reception for 600 kilometres. Last petrol station for 22,000 miles. That
So
kind
you
of
need
thing.
reliable cars. You never guess what they drive out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, Toyotas.
Yeah, that's true. And Subaru.
It's funny because the next, when you go to the navigation system, the next turn is after 1,000 kilometers. It's crazy. But I don't know exactly the location, because we changed the distributor in Australia. I had a trip to Australia. We've been to the West Coast. This Brisbane, Adelaide, Townsville, Melbourne, Sydney.
That's got to
That's
be
south- that's
east coast.
Yeah, Gold Coast round
then it's
the east one, yeah.
Yeah, West Coast, not much
No,
happens. I
East
don't
Coast,
think.
East Coast, right.
Yeah.
It rains a lot on the
Never
West
eat
Coast.
shredded wheat. That's the way you remember it.
I'm
Do
not
they have shredded wheat over in Germany?
In Germany? I don't know. It's a breakfast cereal that that blocks you up, so to speak. But it keeps you going at the same time due to roughage.
I feel we're going off track here.
We are going off track.
I'm not good in geographic, so that's my problem.
As a global trainer, that's not
Or
a
breakfast
problem.
cereals, apparently.
And you speak Australian? No,
Aussie?
not at all. It's fine. Just
Truth.
talk about beers and marsupials and Sheilas. So we've got that sort of things. And then what other? I'm just looking. You also you have a colleague, Richard Hanna, who kind of comes with you on these training sessions. He's a product manager.
Yes, Richard support me during the master trainings, because the regular trainings I do by myself, and the regional trainings where we collect all the master trainers from different regions together into one place.
Like how you say you would collect them. It's like you go around in a van kidnapping.
like this. It's
like a
lot of-
child catcher.
And put them all into a plane and put them into a battle royale.
Oh, come on.
It filters down.
Now, this is a lot of let's say we put a lot of efforts in this concept, because when I started to travel for Sonax, and I visited all our distributors, I saw that there is a lot of difference in knowledge. The level of knowledge was totally different. Somebody talked about dilution rate of this, somebody of that, and I said, okay, we need to bring them to the same level.
You unify them.
Yes, and then I started the Master Trainer concept 2017. I established the Master Trainer concept for Europe first, and nowadays we have 40 trainers in Europe, and they are trained. Yeah,
To the same standard.
To the
And you're
same
saying there's like a
standards, right.
3-level progression. So you can't turn up, do a 2-day course and suddenly be a master trainer, which we entirely agree with. Hell, when we're working with the academy, it's all about, building people's skills, knowledge in an organic way that is going to stay longer than just cramming it in 2 days, giving you a certificate and a gold star. Well done, go away now.
Absolutely, and this is our intention, because the first level is very intensive. It's very it's a theoretical part. It's actually just theory, and Richard is the head of the level 1, because he gives the knowledge of chemistry very deep. It's really
Lots of heavy breathing.
absolute.
Yeah.
It's very dry topic, we say so in German.
Oh, well, you say that, but I mean, we write 136 pages every twice a year on such.
Could use it as a desiccant, our magazine. Jeez. Well, it's good.
Richard.
It's good that they're throwing out the greater chemical knowledge, because you do find that if people have that depth of knowledge, they can use that to identify problems much more efficiently. So if they know that, for example, X chemical doesn't react well when it's humid, that's something they can tick off the list, and before they have to come back to you for advice. So it makes them more self-reliant in the long term.
Absolutely, and this is for us very important, because we want that our trainer need to understand first how does it work, why does it work, before he can explain it to our customers. Because if he don't know how the chemical work, how can he explain to our customers?
Exactly.
Customers pick up on that quite a lot.
Yeah, these days, yes.
Yeah, exactly. Customers have changed. It's one thing we'll talk about, the progression of how detailing has changed. But in the old days, I mean, when we were at shows selling product many years ago, they just say, "Oh, I want a wax." And what you can do with that, I'm gonna polish my car with this wax. Oh, you're gonna polish a car with a wax?
Sell them a candle. There you go. Go on then.
Polish that, baby.
Never see them again.
It wasn't a candle. And so, yeah, but now they come up and say, right, I want a pH neutral shampoo, and then I want a slightly acidic shampoo to reset my ceramic coating. And they've got much more
Knowledge.
Yeah, much more knowledge. And also, half the problem is they've also got wrong knowledge, because they'll pick up on stuff online and they come and say, oh, well, I've learned that actually, I want a very alkaline thing with a pH of 3, please. And so, okay, well, you're going to have a problem here, because either it's going to be pH 3 or it's always going to be alkaline. Ain't going to be both, baby. And so it's a matter of kind of setting that right. And in order to do that, you need to have quite a solid foundation of knowledge and a confidence in what you know. And I think there's used to be a lot more marketing BS in products, because they could get away with it and they could say, yeah, it'll last a lifetime. And now they're saying, will it last a lifetime? Of course it won't. And so people are more honest, but they're also more challenging. So I think that's an interesting development. In
Definitely. The detailers, they have much more tricky questions than before, and they have a higher level of knowledge in terms of chemicals. Or as you say, they pick up some phrases, and they ask about this. They want to understand how does it work. They don't need just a product and say, okay, this is a pH neutral foam, but how does it work? Why is it better than a...
They're like small children, I found. You know how... And it's probably unwise saying this, but it is the case. And a child, when you say, why is the sky blue? And you say, because that's what Jesus wanted it to be. Or you come up with some excuses. They say, but why? Well, that's his favourite colour. But why? Because he's had bad experiences with green. But why? And it goes on and on and on.
It turns blue when you're lying to me. That's what I tell mine. It's great. And he always owns up to something.
Sometimes you let him out of the cupboard. Yeah. So, and it is, to be able to serve that, I think, is key. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take a little breakaroo, and then when we come back, we are going to be talking about Sonax and company history. And
did you say breakaroo for the Australians that they went to?
I'm still, well, I think I'm now on a hit list probably. I'm going to get clobbered over the face with a marsupial limb. They're big punches as well. Marsupial, so it is. And then we are going to talk about a couple of Sonax products, because you've had lots of development and it's been fun. And then we're going to wrap up with a little bit more about DCON and what's happening tomorrow.
Great.
I hope you're enjoying the Pro Detailer Magazine podcast. I just want to take a minute to say a massive thank you. Thank you to all those who ordered the hand-wash-only hardback book. We have printed 3,000, expecting them to sell in dribs and drabs, but lo and behold, they're pretty much all sold out. So the good news is we're able to do a second print run, and that's going to be landing with us towards the end of October 2022. And so if you guys haven't got your copy yet, or would like to perhaps order some for gifts for other people at Christmas, dare I say it this early, then they will soon be available to pre-order at www.prodetailermagazine.com. Anyway, thanks again, and back to the podcast. And we're back, and we are still here in Germany, unsurprisingly. And we're still here with Chris Resch, and we have been talking all things Sonax. We've been talking about his background and how he became the international master trainer. And it's been good fun. But I want to now turn our attention a little bit to the history of Sonax, because it is an interesting company. It's been around since 1950.
Yes, Sonax is established 1950. It's one part of the group of the Hoffmann group, and we have actually 3 companies. The one is Hoffmann Mineral,
which is a mining company.
It's a mining company established 1903. Then we have our own printing company, where we're printing also our own labels, and Sonax.
That's pretty cool. And we were talking earlier, and there was a product called SPO that was available up to a couple of years ago, and that the abrasives in that were using minerals that you yourself, well, not you yourself, because obviously not a miner, far too tall, had mined out of the ground. So you get this situation where of these 3 companies, yes, Sonax is supplied labels by one company and minerals for the next company, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
With your printing company, do you make your own ink?
Not our own ink.
No. So again, it's just a little trend we found with people who manufacture a lot of detailing chemicals. A lot of them come as part of a
Background,
print
yeah.
supplier, an ink supplier, or something like that. Angel Wax,
Car
Chem, all that sort. There's an intrinsic connection in the chemistry there somewhere.
Yeah, maybe could, but we don't.
Okay, we just don't want to. It's fine. Yeah, blase.
So you've got the side, and now you sell in over 100 countries. And you're based in somewhere called Neuburg. How do you say it?
Neuburg on the Danube.
Neuburg on the Danube, which I'm guessing is near the Danube River.
It's like Henley on
The
Thames.
Danube River.
Yeah, Henley on yeah.
Do you have a boat race?
Boat race?
Do you have a famous boat race there? They do it at Henley on Thames.
I don't know about the boat race on the Danube.
You should
but,
start one. It's very popular.
Yeah. But you're Danube. Where in Germany is you're kind of central southern?
It's in Bavaria. It's let's say most people know Audi. It's in Ingolstadt. Ingolstadt. It's 30 kilometers from Ingolstadt and around 80 kilometers from Munich.
Oh, that's cool.
Danube's a very long river, isn't it?
Well, it is.
It goes. I know it goes through Austria. I know it goes to Austria. Yeah, it goes all the way to Australia. It's a long way, that is. It's truth.
It's a long river.
We're good thing we've got no listeners in Australia, otherwise we're in trouble.
We might do.
We might. It's unlikely. So what's fascinating is your job in particular takes you all over the world, and you're saying how in China. Tell us about this way that people do detailing in China. It's very different.
Yeah, there is the regular detailing, of course, existing, but there's a very interesting concept in China. We have around 2,000 Sonax stations there, service stations, and they offer a concept. It's called DIFY concept. So the customer, they buy a product kit, and they buy not only the products, they buy also the service. So the price is included, the service is included in the price, and they have a kit in the box, in a Sonax box, and they have a big storage with the name of the customer, the car number plate, and so on, and the customer can come as often as he want, and they do the service for him. They buy, for instance, a wheel cleaner, and the customer can come as often as he want, or as often as there is a product left. So if the wheel cleaner is empty, they buy a new one, and the service team, they
actually fit it for them.
Right.
Yeah. It's almost the only thing I can think of that's kind of similar to get your head around it is winter tyres with dealerships. You can buy winter tyres in the dealership. Car dealership will store it. Subaru used to do this, would store the tyres for you over winter or over summer rather, and then you just take the car and they do it. So if you've got wheel cleaner, I'm just thinking there, you've got 500 mil of wheel cleaner. You can get through that in two sets of heavy wheel cleans without trying really. But at the same time, if your wheels are never very dirty, you could be cleaning wheels 3 or 4 times with it. So it's an interesting model.
Yeah, this is a very interesting concept because they are very smart, the Chinese. They sell a kit with products where which can use very often. For instance, a wax. Yeah, so the wax lasts for many times.
Yeah,
and the regular products like a wheel cleaner, a glass cleaner, and so on, or shampoo. It's not that durable. Or
turnover is quicker though. Yeah,
right. The price of the kits is they are very expensive. They sell kits including the coating. Or a polymer sealant and so on. It's very smart. They charge also a high price for the service, so it's not that cheap. Because in China, the gap between the rich and the poor people is very big. These days, the middle class is growing, but actually, the most of the people who have money, they send just the driver and
to go get the work done for them.
Right.
Yeah.
And the driver don't do it by himself. He go to the Sonax service station. They are lazy.
Yeah, it's quite cool though, buying a product with the service. I can see that being, that could work. I mean, there's some things it probably wouldn't work with. But anyway, yeah, I've got ideas in my head, but I'm not going to put them on a microphone because I think they would be unfunny in this company.
Well, there's nothing changing there.
No, but it's really cool because when you come to the counter and there's the big wall with all the Sonax bags in and the names of, and then the customer come in and they grab the bag, and then they go to the service and the stations. You can't imagine. This is amazing. We have stations, extremely big stations, with a first floor where you have the floor is made by glass and with massage seats, and you can watch when they do the service on your car. You can
watch them from underneath.
Yes.
Sounds a bit pervy, doesn't it? But no, that's very, very cool. So anyway, there was a sort of a minor diversionary thing because I thought it was really fun. What I'd like to talk about is the ceramic coatings, because we have a little bit of experience with one of your old coatings that's still available, but it turns out it's not your first coating, because your first one was your polymer
nano paint protect.
Nano paint protect. Yeah. We're talking about CC36, and it was fascinating. What stands out about that is it was in an aerosol, or one part of it was in an aerosol, and I asked you why you put it in an aerosol, because from our point of view, from a health and safety point of view, you've got VOCs and fluorine and stuff like that to worry about with a lot of coatings. And here we are putting it into an aerosol, which is a really good way of putting it into the atmosphere so you can breathe in. But you pointed out that there is no fluorine in CC36. It was one of your very first fluorine-free, is it low VOC or no VOC?
It's low VOC.
Low VOC product. So the fact that it was an aerosol was not a risk to human health. But the thing you pointed out is that in an aerosol, it's a one-way ticket in terms of air. So if you've got a normal bottle of coating, as soon as you open that bottle, air is introduced into it, so it won't last. But in an aerosol, because it's just an out, it's a one-way, out through the aerosol, one-way valve, effectively. You're never letting air into it, so it means the shelf life is much longer, and you can use half of it and then wait a year and use the other half, which you can't with a normal bottle.
Right, and this was our intention, and of course, as you say, this is a fluorine-free recipe. This was our target to develop an fluorine-free product because of all the issues.
Yeah, well, fluorine is as I'm sure many know, is a very, very dangerous substance.
It is.
Unfortunately, it's very good at doing what it does.
Yes.
So it's been made into a necessary substance by a lot of companies.
It was challenging to develop a product without fluorine, which have the same performance as a product with fluorine. So
and you took a slightly bold step. So fluorine is perfectly legal, but we feel that things are going to be, there'll be a forced reduction in it. So there's a risk that at some point the REACH regulations will turn up and say, right, you've got to use less than 0.001. Yeah, fluoride. They've already got some restrictions, haven't they? And if you are relying on it and then suddenly you can't use it, you're in trouble. But at the same time, if everybody else is using it because it's good at what it does, and you're sat there trying to create the organic, vegan, keep the earth-friendly alternative that doesn't work quite as well, you put yourself at a competitive disadvantage in the short term. But when it does become illegal, you've already got lots of experience. Your customers have already got lots of experience of how you can do it without fluorine. So in the long term, potentially you're in a much stronger position.
That's right, and we can see this already. We have some feedbacks from other customers. They use different brands, and they are, let's say, recipes from 2018 from a competitor and a recipe from 2020, which is in terms of performance not the same anymore. And maybe because of the reason that they have to reduce the amount of fluorine or some ingredients which are restricted.
To comply. I mean, to me, it's like 1970 America and V8s all over again. You had lovely 1969 Mopar was awesome, but then catalytic converters and the smog and all the rest of it and California rules meant that from a 7.2 litre V8, you're making less than 200 horsepower, which is pathetic, and it's all because of the restrictions and detuning.
Paint stripper as well. Paint stripper has got rubbish over the years since they got rid of dichloromethylene.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's just an observation. Paint
I try and keep away from strippers now.
But I mean, PTFE.
Yeah.
What's PTFE? Because that's the F in PTFE, polytetrafluoroethylene.
Get you. God,
they are very, let's say, powerful and high performance chemicals, of course. But this is one of our philosophy. We always try, even if we are a chemical producer, we always try to find the less harmless.
Like hydrochloric acid, for example, very good at removing everything.
Absolutely. Everything.
Very, very bad for everything.
Yeah.
You say.
And actually, that's an important point to make. Actually, we can touch on it. Is that you make all of your products and you make all of them in Germany at your single factory site on the Danube, which is in Germany, actually, a lot of German manufacturers make their own products. I'm just thinking through all the ones I can think of, like Kochchemie or Kochchemie, depending on your level of decency. They make all their own stuff, and a lot of the other brands do. And whereas in the UK, we've got much more of a pattern of bringing stuff in or relabeling stuff. It's sort of more tradition. But then we've got many more brands. I mean, we were talking off mic, and they were saying, God, I haven't heard of half of these brands in the UK. And for us, like, sort of working in our own little detailing world within the UK, for us, that everybody's heard of them.
There's a lot of very good marketers out there and very few fantastic brands.
Yeah, it's funny that marketing, the tertiary industry, is really good in England, and at the same time, manufacturing, secondary industry, which we're not particularly brilliant at on the whole, with some exceptions.
But the advantage is if you do your own products, you develop the products. We have our own lab. We do everything by ourselves: the research, the development, the production, everything. So you can react if something has happened.
Yeah.
So this is our big advantage. Others they buy from some producers and they put it in a nice bottle.
Yeah, a
nice
fancy label on. Yeah.
So I imagine back at the lab they keep a sample of every single batch made. So when if they're getting reports of issues back with a certain bottle of compound, for example, they can go back to that batch that they've got on the shelf, track down what the problem might be, and if it's a case of they can recall batches, they can give advice on what goes wrong. But if you like a marketer's brand, if you like, can't do that. They can phone up their supplier, who may or may not have
or still exist.
Yeah, may have gone out of business by then. You never know. And at that point, they're a little bit. The consumers are a little bit stuck because they can't get any advice.
This is, you can't imagine how many tests a new recipe have to stand before we launch it on the market. We have so many really proper tests we do at the product itself, because we do the crack test.
The crack test. That sounds like fun.
This is a crack, anti-crack.
This one's failed.
Because when you put, let's say, a pH 13 cleaner on the plastic headlights.
I see what you mean. Acrylic.
So for crazing and things like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
To get stress cracks and so on. So our products, they are all tested against stress cracks. So they have to stand this test, and then we deliver the products to countries where it's really hot, cold. So they have to the bottles, they are tested, the durability. We have so many tests. It's really
yeah, you're absolutely right. And bottles. Sorry, this is a point because it's infuriates me. One brand's recently rebranded, really nice job, and actually I've used some of the new products and they're really cool. But one of the bottles leaked, and I looked at it closely, and I did a little litmus paper test. And we within the trade, obviously, we know that things like PET or HDPE, different bottle things, they work better with solvents or pH neutral or whatever, and there are different ways of doing it. And they'd cocked up because they'd used, I think it was an HDPE bottle with a very strong acidic, but I can't remember which way around it was. It was one of the ones that they got wrong. I just thought, that's a schoolboy error,
The amount of places that use the aluminium bottles.
Yeah, well, I made that mistake.
With alkaline?
With that, it was aluminium bottle, and it's not the aluminium is the problem; it's the lining reacted, and so I had what we call bird and insect remover in the old Carskin days, and I just decanted them all into these really nice aluminium bottles, and they got nice tops in there. Put them all on the shelf, which was basically in a garage. Came back the following morning, and every single one had exploded, and more than that, not exploded with fire. That would have been more fun, but had spurted.
That's your insurance claim.
Yeah, it had spurted all over the other bottles, and of course it was really powerful stuff, and it took all the labels off the other bottles, so I lost about 500 bottles of the bird insect remover, and then I lost a further 500 bottles of everything else that was in the blast radius. I felt very silly.
Yeah, for us also, when you see that the bottle starts shrinking, this is a no-go for us.
Sucks it in. It's oxidation, I think it is. Yeah,
it's a no-go. So if this has happened during the test, they have to
new bottle or
bottle or the recipe or whatever. So this is because this is in the shelf, and this have to look nice.
Yeah.
So,
out of interest, do you find? I mean, this is a general chemistry thing, but it may apply to some of your tests. Do you find that there are expiration dates for certain products, like compounds, for example? Is it a case of after 3 years, really, it's just best to replace it because certain chemicals will have broken down within there, or is there a general time limit you find?
Yeah, it's 3 years or 5 years shelf life.
Yeah.
The most of the products even 5 years.
So I've got about 4 bottles of Maguire's number 7 show glaze sitting in a cupboard. That I they don't bloody make it anymore, and it's really good for feeding old paint, but I've got a feeling it's probably dead now.
For us, also a no-go is that the product separates, you know.
Yes.
Sometimes you see that it goes very fast. It's 1 week in the shelf and the product separates, you know. So
I've seen that. So we're at the Valet Pro have their own lab, and they have the same thing. They put the product in clear bottles and put it in a fridge, and then just watch it.
Yeah.
They've got somebody just watching it.
Right.
To make sure that doesn't. I mean, that's not a full-time job. Obviously, there are other things to do, like coffee making and stuff. But
which you might think is not a problem because you can just shake it up. But if you don't shake it up and you accidentally pour out the small bit of
the top, which will be the solvent,
nice clear solvent chemical, then you've just reduced the amount of solvent in the entire product by half, and that was probably measured out for a very good reason.
Yeah, and melted the paint on what you've spread that pure undiluted solvent onto as well. So it's just terrible.
Tend not to pour things directly on the paint.
That's where I've been going wrong all my life.
So this is for us. It's really important. All those proper tests before we launch a product.
And that's the sign again of a big proper company rather than a brand. Basically, that's the distinction I put.
And the same when we develop the compounds. I think we are the only one who have a robot for the polish tests. And
a robot? I'm a robot.
We have
no, a useful one.
Oh, okay.
Because the problem is when you do a test, for instance, you give one product to 5 people.
Yes.
You get 5 different results because everybody have his own behaves.
I'm the 6th person who's 6 foot under by then because I thought it was a taste test.
And our polishing robot, we can adjust the pressure, the speed. We have always the same pad. Yeah. We have the same sanding mark, and we can make a real proper.
This is the
repeatable test.
This is the problem we tend to come into when we're doing the mega testing, and we go to great lengths to try and find ways of taking out the human element. Mainly, we use Bert because subhuman.
I am a robot.
You're the robot.
But with polishing, and we did find this when we did the heavy cut mega test, it was very hard to try and make everything. Everything like exactly the same every time. We did try things with like pillar drills to see if we could at least get the consistency right with weights on them. We tried fix a machine in place, and I think eventually we did try with certain weights on it, and it looked very Heath Robinson when we did it, but we everything was the same, and it's a very difficult thing to manage. So having access to a robot, yes, I would like access to a robot now. Is the summary of this tirade.
Well, the other thing also, apart from the fact we realised that pillar drills have very little torque.
Our one did.
The other thing is, if you're trying to compare different products from different brands, but they claim to do the same thing, is that quite often you've got to use them several different ways to find out how they work best. So it could be you've got 2 compounds that are as good as each other, but one of them works better on a foam pad with fast arm movements and low RPM, just for argument's sake, and another one works best on a wool pad. And so actually they both can cut at the same speed and be as effective. But if we then put the test and say, right, this test is only on foam, then one product's going to be favoured more than the others. So we find it difficult when testing products, which is why we always ask manufacturers for guidance. And this is always the tell. So when we ask manufacturers for guidance on how to apply or use their products, we've got the dumb ones who say, just read the instructions. We're like, fine, we'll do that. That's good. We'll find somebody who can read first, but we can do it. And then we get the ones who clearly know so much about the product that we'll get a phone call from their detailer, or we'll get a phone call from their chemist saying, right, the way you do this for the best effect, and they genuinely know how their products work best and in the situations, and they ask us lots of questions. And then we already know that which products are going to be the strong ones. The ones who don't even know how to use it properly and say, oh, just read the instructions, versus the ones who take the time to get in contact and clearly know what they're talking about.
Did you say there were 3 types?
I did, but I forgot
the ones that don't do mathematics.
Possibly. But again, and this is so going back to that CC36, you've now got something called CC Evo. And so yesterday, the day before the show, we were talking to Moritz, who's Autolacafin over here. He's knows his stuff. And we asked him, just out of interest, what's your favourite coating? And he said CC Evo. I didn't see any brown envelope from you guys, so I'm presuming it is an honest opinion. But I asked him why, and this is interesting. He said it is the most flexible. Is that I can reliably apply that to 100 cars, and I know it'll be okay on all of them with different paint types, different paint conditions, different application conditions. It's the most flexible. Is it the hardest? No. Is it the longest lasting? No. Is it the glossiest? No. But it is, for a professional detailer, reliable, and that matters. And again, that bounces back to big business. You've tested it properly in lots of different environments. It's a reliable product. And then that took us on to the comment here, which is where you were talking about the hardness. And we've had this argument before, and we know full well there's no point saying 9H hardness on a product that you're putting onto 2H hardness paint, because it ain't going to make a difference at half a micron. But you were talking about layering. So tell us about, you've done some testing to see whether layering of a ceramic product works. What did you find out?
So for us, for our coatings, it actually makes no sense to do a layering. We made several tests. We applied many different layers. But we found out that more than 2 applications with the base coat, for instance, it's good enough, because we don't say we layering, we just fill up the paint with the particles to get a strong network of ceramic particles. Bonds, yes. And actually on a regular hard paint, it's good enough to apply one step, and on softer paints like Japanese cars, Honda, Toyota, or so on, who absorb more products, we say, okay, to be sure, you can do 2 steps with the first, with the gloss coat, for instance.
Which is interesting. I don't know about you, Ian, but I've never heard a ceramic manufacturer suggest, I mean, obviously the people like Ceramic Pro who encourage lots of coats, but actually saying, no, some paints actually suck in the base coat more, and therefore you need to apply more in 2 coats.
Not directly, no. I've not heard that directly from a ceramic manufacturer, but it does make sense, because that's what a covalent bond effectively is. It's sucking part of itself in and hooking on to.
Right. It's like the Velcro of ceramic coatings.
Yeah. Let's go with that, because I haven't got a better option.
Yeah, and actually, when I look back, the development in terms of coatings and the marketing of coatings, it was really funny in the past.
Yes,
it was really funny. So they burned the hood. They made the scratch test by the lighter.
Yes,
and all those things. But and in the past, everybody was talking about 9H. 9H. If does your product is 9H? No. Oh, then it's not a good coating. Glass coating, hard like glass. Then layering. And they also talked about scratch resistance. Nowadays, when you talk to the detailers and you ask them, how do you offer a coating to your customers? What is the benefit of a coating on the car? Well, so I got different answers than a couple of years back. Nobody's talking anymore about scratch resistance, because it's really hard to find a coating which makes the car really scratch resistant.
Well, it's slickness, isn't it?
It's more about reduction of friction, because if there's nothing for it to catch on, then that's what reduces the scratches. It's not the hardness. If you want scratch resistance, if you want PPF. Stone chip resistance, put PPF on there.
That's it.
That's your option.
That's the only option, more or less. So, of course, it can reduce scratches, but it cannot avoid scratches or stone chips. And the people, they learned, and then they made their own experiences. And it was also hard in the past to convince the people, hey, this is not, it's not everything about hardness. We were one of the first who were talking about the flexibility.
I keep telling her that too, yeah. But no, I hear you, and the flexibility of the actual for the coating to be able to kind of move with its things. Because bear in mind that metal on a car expands, contracts, and heats. Right. So if you had something that was completely hard, it would be brittle, and therefore it wouldn't work.
I keep telling her that too. How much of this am I going to have to cut?
We made these tests too. So I've been to Saudi Arabia, and we applied. Actually, it was a very thick layer of a coating, and on a Toyota paint, and we let cure it for 2 days. It was a very thick layer of coating. It was actually too thick. It's not what you used to apply, but we just want to see what's happened if you apply a very thick layer of coating or if you do layering. And it was so hard. Of course, we had to sand it. There were already cracks in this thick layer of the coating. So we sand down, and we were very surprised, because the cracks, they were also in the paint already.
Oh, it pulls the paint apart.
Right.
Well, it's the same as a bird etching will, because it's the flexibility of the paint below versus the hardness of the coating on top. And if the paint carries on moving and it can't stretch itself, then it's going to
Of course.
Well, regardless.
And bird drops, they are how to say, the enzymes. What is in the bird poo? Shit.
Poo.
Don't say
Excrement.
excrement.
Feces.
Yeah, my bad English, so excrement.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, in the bird shit. Yeah.
in bird shit.
Well, also, is there something about stones? It was Craig at CarPro, formerly Craig at CarPro, who said that
no,
birds eat stones to aid their digestion.
Some birds do. I don't think pigeons actually do.
I don't know. I mean, we've got chickens and they eat anything. They eat each other.
Yeah.
So I have no
Okay,
idea.
this is the problem if you try to wipe off the bird drop or the bird poo.
Yep.
But the acid and the enzymes in the bird drop is the problem which caused the edging or the damage.
Yeah, and the heat that's generated also by that reaction. Yeah. It's scary stuff. Anyhow, before we get down another rabbit hole of some such things, I think we shall wrap it up there. But Chris, it has been an absolute pleasure talking to you, and I'm so sorry for kidnapping you off the stand. I know your colleagues are sat there trying to build the stand without your great guidance, so that's going to be difficult. But I believe the bar is beckoning, and we will be back on air very soon, I'm sure. Anyway, it is goodbye from me.
Thank you. Goodbye, guys. It was a big pleasure for me too, and see you.
Thank you. Goodbye.